This is the Pipkin and Turnbull show. It is October 1st, first day of October, like I just said.
Yes.
Episode 24 for you guys today. We have an awesome show with a lot of amazing things happened this past week and will be happening again this week. So, Mr. Turnbull, what are we going to be talking about today?
All right, man. We got a great one for you guys today. We're gonna give our reactions to the NBA Finals Game One. Gonna break that down for you guys. What we thought.
Hey! I know you're a heat. You gotta read what I wrote. What did I read? What did I write?
I'm not. We'll get into it.
The Heat started with a blaze, but then quickly burnt out by LeBron and company. Our reactions to Game 1 of the Finals. Please continue, Mr. Turnbull. Please, Jamie, continue.
Thoughts on Mahomes and Lamar after the Monday night matchup? Are they the new Peyton and Brady? Is that rivalry? Is this something we're gonna be able to look forward to the next 10 years? And then the best and worst things we saw last week. And then we're gonna look at kind of give you guys some games to watch going forward this weekend. So with that, I mean. Game one last night was hard. I'm a Heat fan. I've got three of the rings just right up there. And they started strong. They I thought it was gonna be a close game. But then the Lakers just turned it on. They scored 31 in the first quarter, and then they went off for 34 in the second quarter. And Miami's couldn't keep up, and then injuries started stacking up. I don't think they're out of this game. I don't think they're out of this series at all. But they're gonna have to really that small ball stuff that they were doing Davis and LeBron. I just don't think it's gonna work. You gotta get somebody on Davis, and having Hero guarding Davis was kind of a head scratcher for me. Miami's they're not out of this. They're not out of this. A lot of people are writing them off. Some people I was reading this morning thought that instead of doing a conference playoffs, you have the best on best. So you could have had two West teams. You could have had two East teams in the finals. I think people are writing Miami off already. I don't think that they're out of this one bit. But that's my thoughts. What do you got?
Yeah, I think having the two conference system is a good thing. Later on, like we've always talked about, who's represented from the two conferences is could be debated, especially for the NBA. Is it divisional, or do you do it based on record and things like that? So that's the conversation we could have. But more speaking towards what we saw last night, one of the craziest the statistics that came out of last night was after trailing by 13 points, the Miami was outscored 35-30 for the next 22 minutes of basketball. So that pretty much tells you a little bit of what was happening in that game. I think Dragic and Adebayo is the biggest, I think for me, is the biggest concern going into Game 2, where those two are at. And so Jamie, have you heard any injury updates from those two yet?
I haven't heard anything from Bam. He was dealing with an ankle and a shoulder injury throughout the playoffs, and I think he just re-aggravated it. Goran, I can't remember the injury off the top of my head, but it's looking like he's going to be doubtful for the rest of the series, which is huge.
Yeah,
because Dragic was a big part of that big the Boston series.
Well, yeah, ever since the first series. I think he was big in the Milwaukee series and the Boston series. So I think they can overcome Dragic. I don't think they can overcome Bam being out because Bam is the best matchup besides Giannis to go up against AD. Without Bam and his defensive skills, guarding, AD, being a presence, in the paint. That's where I say if they can't get Bam out, it, Miami may get one game in the series because that's how much they need Adebayo, in my opinion. I think you can overcome Dragic. I think you can, with the depth of the Heat roster, I think you can make up those points and what he brings. It's a huge loss. Just because of how well he was playing. But you can't. You've got to match size with size when it comes to AD. And that's what you could see. And in the fourth quarter, it was like they did take a little bit. Their foot off the pedal, which you can't do. I mean, which you can't do because the Heat kind of, started to make a few things happen and try to shorten it up. So, with that being said, in that mindset, you can never take the Heat out of it. But I just think if you don't have Bam, that just the matchups aren't there. I mean, especially when you're having to deal with LeBron and AD coming down the paint. And that's and I think before that, at full strength, I think the Heat had a very, very good chance for this series, but now it's just, all this energy and effort is from the other games, it's kind of being depleted and it's and what's hard about it is team ball will get you so far, but you still need your most valuable assets, and that would be, to me, it's Bam and Jimmy Butler. And losing Bam it's going to hurt the Heat moving forward. So, based on if Bam's out, I still like the Heat to win one of these games, but I think it's going to be a 5-game series at this point, just because of injuries. So.
I think Kelly Olynyk can step in. If Bam can't go, I think Olynyk can step in. And he sunk a couple good shots last night. Even if Bam can't go this Friday, I would still. The Heat have a good chance. This is a team that basically swept Milwaukee. They Milwaukee didn't have a prayer for a lot of those games, and this is still that team. So I wouldn't count them out, even as a Heat fan, as biased as I am. Because looking at the numbers and stuff like the stats. None of the players had for the Heat had bad nights. It's the Lakers, man. They're a powerhouse, and you gotta get them out of their rhythm. You can't let them just do whatever you want. You gotta get in there. You gotta make LeBron cry. You just gotta. Sometimes you gotta be dirty. All right, because a frustrated LeBron is a bad LeBron. I say that I watched him for what 4 years in Miami, and when he gets frustrated, he gets out of rhythm, and I think the Heat can capitalize on that. But they have to. They have to play their ball, and they have to. You contest every shot. I don't care what you got to do. You cannot let the Lakers get into rhythm like they did. And if he can do that, man, this is gonna be a series. But if they let the Lakers do that, we ain't winning the game. Yeah. And you just. It's gonna be a good series to watch. I'm definitely still pumped for it. But it's.
Well, the other thing with the Heat is, they've shown time and time again, even if they take a loss, they come right back and win the next game. And so they are able to mentally get themselves prepared to it's kind of like what Jimmy said. He's like, we're gonna end this on Sunday, and I had my doubts, and I thought maybe the Boston, even Boston being down 3-1, that we may have a 7-game series. But he said we're gonna end it Sunday, and so this team's mentality, as I just, like I said, I it's just when you lose a major, this isn't the minor, this is a major aspect of your team. And if he's not able to come back, because I mean, it's Antonio Davis. I mean, we haven't his he is probably the most talented guy on the floor, and you need somebody like Bam to take that on. And all the intangibles. And I know LeBron's out. I know that's everybody's like, "Well, you think he's better?" And I was like, no, I just think talent wise and your intangibles, looking at the size and his shot making ability, you need Bam out there. So no, I don't. I think Game 2 is is going to be a great barometer to see how this Heat can come back after being just mentally kind of be destroyed in that third quarter, especially second and third quarter, and see what this team can come back. And so this team, like I said, has been able to come back time and time again. And I would just say I think Game 2, based on how they come back, seeing how they will make the rotations, how they will overcome the loss of Dragic and Adebayo, just to see what that'll look like. So Game 2 is very huge, as of all the games, but it'll be interesting to see the rotations. So we saw once again two of the greatest young quarterbacks right now match up once again. We had Patrick Mahomes for the Kansas City Chiefs and Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. So, Jamie, going into this game, what were your thoughts?
Man, I thought the Chiefs were going to lose. We beat them the last two times. But it was at Arrowhead both times. I went to last year's game. And so I just kind of thought, like, the Ravens, I thought this season they'd have the Chiefs' number. I thought that they just had the better defense, and I thought and after the Chargers game, like, the Chiefs-Chargers game shook me, because I was like, this isn't Kansas City. Like, this is, we're struggling. We still won, but we struggled the whole time. And so that kind of shook me going into this game, because, like, this is supposedly the most talented roster in the NFL. Like, the Ravens are supposed to be, like, one of, the top AFC team. And so I was going in thinking it's going to be competitive, but the Ravens were going to be able to squeak it out. And what I got Monday night was nothing what I expected. Man, the Chiefs just, in every aspect of the game, the Chiefs beat them. Like even rushing. I mean, Lamar had more rushing yards than Patrick, but he didn't have a touchdown. Patrick obviously beat him in passing to 385 to 97 yards passing. And so as I was watching this, I reminded myself of what I always say. If you're gonna beat the Ravens, you make them play from behind. Because they can't do it. They can't make that comeback, and they can't like what we saw the Chiefs do in the playoffs. They're not built like that. They are a start strong and just rush the ball, take minutes off the clock, and just keep hitting you with that rush. And so once the Chiefs came out and were up early, that completely got rid of Baltimore's rushing attack. And what did Lamar have to do? He had to pass. And a lot of that wasn't on Lamar. I'm not saying Lamar's a bad player. A lot of that was on his tight end. He was dropping. I think he dropped a touchdown in the end zone. They were dropping passes all night. But that's because the Chiefs came out fast, and they made Lamar have to play from behind. And I mean, it definitely wasn't the game that I was expecting, but it was welcomed. That's for sure. And I mean, it was just a good game for Chiefs fans. But
Yeah, what's yeah, and then in kind of going into it, I kind of felt like I think the best thing that could have happened to the Chiefs is that close game to the Chargers. Because I definitely felt like they were kind of sleepwalking the week before, and almost can say, hey, we can still lose. Like, they're good defenses are still gonna show their strengths against this offense. So they've got to be up to the challenge each and every week. And I think think they the Chiefs had, and it's human nature to kind of look past and look forward to this Baltimore Chiefs matchup. I do think I do think the Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson with Deshaun, like I love all this mix, and I do think these are kind of continue going to be these amazing future matchups that we're going to be able to keep on seeing. Because if you look at if we compare this to Peyton and Brady, I mean, Peyton had horrible games when he first played against Brady. If you go back and look at that, it's only later on when they started getting more pieces together for Indianapolis, a better line when they played at Indianapolis, that they started getting better. I think I agree with you. One thing I think that would have helped Lamar is if his wide receivers would have been able to help him out a little more, because there was at least 2 dropped touchdown passes, and I think the tight end, I know, dropped 1. I think he may have dropped 2 in the end zone, and so they had all these plays that they were chunking, down there, but there were a lot of drops, in that game, and I think for me, Baltimore, I think panicked a little bit in the second quarter. They just were, wanting it all Lamar all the time, wanting him to make a play. And you just can't scheme around that. You got to scheme around what your strengths are. I think if they could have really focused on because that first drive they had their way with Kansas City. They probably should have scored on their opening drive, but Kansas City was able to put up an impressive stop. But I think if they were able to keep that run game going and keep that Chiefs defense on the field, and then open it up with more play action, I think that would have been a huge help, because they just. Baltimore has Hollywood Brown, and typically a good tight end. I'm trying to remember his name.
Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews has been more sure-handed in other games. It was a rough night for Lamar because I didn't feel like he had much help out there. And then also, I was expecting a little bit more from the Baltimore's defense as a whole. I felt like that was, especially in their defensive backfield, one of the weakest games that I had seen. Because if you go back and look at some of those replays, I mean, they were constantly out of position, especially guys like Marcus Peters. Marlon Humphreys was out of position. It wasn't that they weren't trying, and maybe that was the other thing. They had mentioned, when we kept saying scheme after scheme, they were trying different things to try to get to Mahomes, try to get to this offense. And maybe that was their downfall, trying too many different things that got their guys out of position eventually. Because there was wide open shots a lot of the times in that game, and really quickly came open because the DBs were out of position. That was probably one of the worst defensive showings that Baltimore has had since the last time that they played the Chiefs. So, I think you try to overhype, over-prepare. I'm not sure what the words are, but you can't drop passes against the Chiefs, and you can't be out of position against Mahomes. You can't do that. And I think overall, the Ravens just made too many mistakes. I think to just say that, the Chiefs totally came and they came in like a wrecking ball, Miley Cyrus. I wouldn't say that was this type of game. I just think there were just so many mistakes that the Ravens did. I think they were showed that they were anxious about and I'd be anxious playing against Patrick Mahomes too, but you can't have the mistakes that the Ravens made and expect to win, and especially those drops. Those. I mean, you think about if he would have caught those 2 touchdowns. I mean, the game still ended 20-34. This would have been. This should have been a lot closer of a game, and so Mahomes had to do big 3rd down conversions to get where they're at.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
yeah, but that's why, like I said last week, when you're looking at a matchup and the teams are fairly similar, you got to go with the quarterback. You got to go with Patrick Mahomes. All right, moving on to the best and worst things that we saw from this week.
Gosh.
So, I'm going to start off with the worst thing I saw this week, and I'm going to go with the Florida State University as in general, but in particular, it's a beautiful, and it'll make your heart so happy to watch this on replay over and over again. The game was 21-3 at this point, and Florida State is trying to make something happen with reverses and things like that, but Jordan Travis is being tackled to the ground and basically throws it at a Miami defensive player, and they take it back for a touchdown. And so if you haven't seen that, just Google YouTube Jordan Travis interception. It is hilarious and beautiful, and basically sums up Florida State football at this point. It is crazy to me, and I messaged this to you, that Florida State University may be the 6th best college team in Florida right now. I think they would I think they would struggle against Florida Atlantic or Florida International. So it may be even lower than I think. And I know that you could talk coaching problem, whatever, but you are still Florida State University. You are meant to be. I mean, these 3 teams are meant to be one of the highest in the land. And I'm talking these 3 teams being Florida, Florida State, and Miami. These 3
put Miami last.
No, I mean whatever. We can do whatever. I'm saying in general. I mean, not saying that now, but I'm saying in general in the past, when you talk about programs, you would be considering these as the highest programs, and it is so weird to see Florida, the way that they have to this level have gone down. I mean, as soon as Jimbo left for Texas A&M, and now I kind of understand. Hey, I get why you left, Jimbo. I mean, this is a mess. Like, I mean, Miami's pretty good this year. I mean, really good this year. But man, I was watching and I'm like, this is a hodgepodge plot, everything going, like it's crazy to think that a couple of years ago, and I feel like, did Alabama beat Florida State this bad that this is where they're at?
You broke them.
You broke a universe, like, because Alabama was 1, and I think Florida State was like 3. And then Alabama went and just, they lost their quarterback, but they blew them out opening night.
Yeah.
And ever since, that happened, it's all been chaos, And so, I mean, maybe Alabama broke a football team. It's a mess, man. And it shouldn't be that way. We need to see, a couple years ago where we saw some of the best Miami, Florida State, where Miami, on a miracle, pass, gets their win. I mean, those are the type of games.
Yeah.
And the game, I think, I know you loved this game because as an Alabama fan, I love blowouts too. But as in general, like, you want to see healthy Florida State, a healthy Miami, because you don't want
Nah,
just.
I like to kick the crap out of. As a Miami Hurricanes fan, if there's one team that I like to just kick the crap out of, and then hear their fans cry, it's Florida State. Every year, if that's the only one that's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
same goes for the Raiders.
Yeah. Hey, I'm like that with Auburn, so I can't blame you there. Can't blame you there.
Yeah.
But man, I just it as somebody who wanted to just see a great Miami Florida State game, like it was sad to just see the level at which Florida State is now. I mean, it's crazy to me. I mean, because I genuinely think like UCF and South Florida would be, is a better, better at recruiting. I don't know. I keep like
especially on prime time.
Yeah, like stumbling over
that was a prime time.
I mean,
game.
Because I think about like Jameis Winston, that team where you got Sammy Watkins like winning the national champ, and it wasn't that long ago. Like to see how fast that decline was, and that's why I was like stumbling to just think about like that's how bad this program is right now, and so it'll be interesting to see what Florida State will be able to do, and so what was your? I know I was on a tangent. Well, that was a long tangent.
No, you're fine.
What was your worst thing of the week?
My worst thing, it was my worst thing last week. The worst thing before the Atlanta Falcons. Man, I'm not even a fan of this team, and I just bad for them. Like, how do you keep choking away these games? Like, they're not even a bad team. Thing. Like, they've got a good quarterback, and they've got a good running back, Todd Gurley. They've got two great receivers in Julio who can't stay healthy, and then you've got Ridley. Like, this is a good team. How do you keep choking these games away? Like, is it your coaching? Like, I mean, we were talking before the show. I think he's gone by week 5. Like, there's no reason. And now they're getting ready to play Green Bay on Monday night. That's our Monday night game. And I'm telling you, right now, you're not jumping out to a lead on Green Bay right now. Green Bay is probably the best team in the NFC, if not the NFL, with the Seahawks being right there. Like, it's. I'm just so puzzled watching Atlanta every Sunday, like just choke it away, because it just don't make sense.
Well, this is to add on top of that. This is Dan Quinn. I mean, this is Legion of Boom defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
like that doesn't make sense. Like, and it's been like that. I mean, this team. I mean, you lose. It's 28-0 or 3. The same thing with the Patriots. Like, Legion of Boom defensive coordinator. Like, keep that in your mind. Continue, Jamie.
Yeah. No, and you're exactly right. And then they so Chicago just benches their first round draft pick, and they put in Nick Foles. And like this guy is some kind of god. Just comes back and just slaps Atlanta and is like, no, we're winning this.
20 points. 20 points given in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, who does that?
It's Nick Foles.
It's insane.
Oh,
it's Nick Foles. Like, yeah, he's a Super Bowl MVP. But what? Outside of that, what has he done? Like, this is the best backup in the NFL. Like, he's just like whenever you put him as a backup and tell him to go win the game, he does. It's the craziest thing. I saw this guy when Nick Foles was in Kansas City. We had a hard time being Jacksonville. I was there. And now this guy's like becoming the backup in Philly. Goes and wins the Super Bowl. He's the backup in Chicago, and then he comes back from all this down and then beats Atlanta. Like, this dude has earned every penny of his salary. And but back to Atlanta, it just doesn't make sense to me, like how they're so bad. And we were talking like do you keep the head coach and then you get Trevor Lawrence? What is Matt Ryan doing that's just so bad? Like, I haven't really watched Atlanta's games because they don't show them in my area. But is Matt Ryan just is it time to replace Matt Ryan? Like his play just declined so much that all right, we need to go with a rookie. We need like I agree they need a new identity, obviously. At 0-3, are we just overreacting? Like I mean what?
I don't know. I mean,
crazy.
this Green Bay game for Atlanta is huge for them. I mean, I mean, at this point, you've got to win this game. I mean, that's where they've gotten themselves to, and and this team should be. I mean, I really do think based. I mean, maybe they just think football is a 3-quarter game now. I mean, because at this point. I mean, they should be 3-0. I mean, you go back and look at all their box score, all their stats. There's no reason this Atlanta team shouldn't be 3-0. And especially at least 2-1, because and just a little bit on the Mitchell Trubisky thing is interesting too. Another aspect to this game, and what the Bears are going to do moving forward. And maybe the Bears are seeing this on defense, and maybe that's why they pulled him. I mean, maybe Atlanta's defense is that bad. So here, let's follow this line of thought. Maybe the reason they pulled out Trubisky is that, hey, the offense in DC, the coordinators are saying, hey, there's no way that we should be losing this bad to the Falcons. I mean, maybe that is how bad that their defense is. And Nick Foles goes in there and within a quarter is able to beat this team.
But this is still the guy that lost his job last year in Jacksonville, Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, he's still the guy that can go up to based on this article, that can go up and call audibles. I mean, maybe Trubisky can't go up to the line and call audibles.
Maybe you should have figured that out whenever you were doing your draft analysis, Chicago. You could have had Watson or Mahomes, and you went with the guy that can't call audibles. Maybe that's something that your scouts came back and said, hey, can't
Chiefs
do audibles.
Chiefs had Trubisky on their radar too. Chiefs, if they didn't get Mahomes, they would have had Trubisky.
And you know what? Andy Reid would have taught him how to call an audible.
The Chiefs would still maybe have had Alex Smith. Who knows? But I agree with you. I don't know what's happening with Atlanta. They are too good to be 0-3. They are definitely the best 0-3 team that I've ever seen. You look at their offensive weapons. I mean, you got Julio, you got Calvin Ridley.
Julio. I know you're an Alabama fan, and Julio played for Alabama. Is it time for them to move away from Julio? The dude is never playing. He's always injured. When he is playing, he's the best. I would say the best wide receiver in the game. But that's the thing. Like, how many seasons has he put complete seasons has he put together?
I think I think that's what keeps him. I think that's what keeps him out of. Out of Hall of Fame talk, out of all those conversations, and it's sad because it is his injuries. But when he is in there, he is the most dominant wide receiver in the NFL. And that's mainly because he can take up all of the cover. Like, I've seen where they've put 3 DBs on Julio Jones, and Julio Jones still sometimes he finds a way to get past that. So, I get what you're saying. But even if Julio's out at this point to where they've built this team, there's still no reasons that they can't, move the ball. But it's more than that. And the weird thing is, I don't know if it's all on Dan Quinn. I don't know. Because and then that's the thing. I don't think Quinn is a horrible coach. He got into the Super Bowl.
A couple years ago, he was Super Bowl.
This
where
is
they told away a victory.
Yeah, and I feel like if he was, I think what Dan Quinn's line, he'll be fired from the Falcons. He'll be a defensive coordinator, but then once again he'll be hired as a head coach somewhere, and I think he'll be successful. And that's a weird thing. So, but I agree with you. The best thing that I saw from this week. Is I got to see Alabama play. SEC football started again. But I love seeing that Dylan Moses, the linebacker for Alabama, was back and playing and looked really good off of his knee injury his junior year. And so I loved seeing Dylan Moses back, being a leader on that defense. Much needed. And, the defense looked a whole lot better, especially in that first half against Mizzou. And so I mean that was the best thing I saw is the return of Dylan Moses, the return of SEC football. It was exciting to watch. What was crazy about opening weekend was the LSU losing to Mississippi State.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And what's crazy to me is they allowed Joe Costello, who looks pretty decent, obviously, because he threw for 628 yards against LSU. So,
I need Mississippi State's head coach to kind of pump the brakes, though. Did you hear what he said? They played LSU because Seattle, Green Bay, and Kansas City were busy. Respect for beating the defending national champions, but let's kind of pump the brakes on that one.
Yeah, LSU looked bad. I mean, they didn't look like they didn't. I mean, they lost a ton of players. We were kind of looking like it may be a rough year, but then they got a good recruiting class, so maybe a down year this year, but then back once again. Leach, I mean, you've been fired from all types of jobs. I wouldn't be quite saying that quite yet, but Leach has always been like can't take Leach seriously at all. It'd be hard playing for Leach, but he got a system going. He figured out how to get that air raid, pro style. Pass game going. So kudos to Mississippi State for getting ready and being prepared for that. Another great game that I saw was the Tennessee-South Carolina game. Went back and forth very much to the end. Actually, South Carolina, made a couple mistakes in the fourth quarter, which they should have overcome and actually beat Tennessee. So there was a lot of potential upsets this week, with the biggest upset being Mississippi State versus LSU, and so I think it's so wide open at this point. You've got Alabama playing Texas A&M, who was number 10 in the country, so that'll be interesting game to keep watch of for this week. I think. What was the best thing that you saw this week?
Man, I love watching Miami curb stomp FSU. I couldn't wipe my smile off my face.
Yeah, watching your team beat that kind of team was the best thing you saw?
Yes.
I guess as a Miami fan.
We lost like 6 in a row to FSU. All right. So this is the most points ever scored in an FSU
Miami. That was like watching Miami beat a junior high team. You would have said that was the best thing you saw that week.
I mean, what did the junior high team do?
Miami's facing the Mighty Mites from.
Is it Marionville? Is it Fair Grove? Like who is it that Miami's about to score 100 on? Because
all right,
it depends.
I'll be done. I'm done. Continue.
I like to see overall just because Miami for the first time in a long time. I would say since we had Ken Dorsey in the early 2000s, Miami has a quarterback. We have someone that can take command and is not just closing their eyes and throwing lobs. We've had some good passers, but we haven't had a leader. And so Derek King, man, he came in and at first I was mad. I remember sending you a photo when he transferred to Miami. I was like, why can't we develop somebody? Why can't we just go with Coach Perry? Why give Tate Martell a chance? Why can't we develop somebody? And so I was pretty mad about it. And then I started watching the practices, and I started watching the games. We started getting the games. And now I'm hyped for it, man. It's only 1 year. Like he's a graduate transfer. But I'm enjoying it while we have it. And anytime we can put a hurt on FSU like this, that's a good game for me. So.
What? Yeah, it's your three years in a row now.
4
years. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, but hey, you got 2 weeks to really see what your team is. We'll see in 2 weeks.
We'll talk about
it ain't middle school.
We'll talk about
it
that.
Ain't no Mighty Mites coming up in 2 weeks, man.
We'll talk about that. Ain't gonna be on my games to watch. I'll tell you that much. You can skip that one. I'm not saying Miami can't win it. But
we're talking. Are you out of your mind? We are going to recap and talk all about that, man. Either way it goes down. Ain't no way you're skirting that one. They could win. Hey, Miami could win. Number 8 in the country.
Oh my!
Wow.
Hey,
get a little squirmy. Getting a little squirmy over there.
Couple weeks ago, I was telling you they should not be ranked. Right? I was telling you they should not be ranked for whatever reason. The NCAA likes getting my hopes up like this.
If they win, you better not say I told you so, though. Then you better not.
I might say.
All right. Another matchup that I will be some NFL matchups coming up this week that I love. Surprisingly, I actually am kind of intrigued with the Browns and Cowboys matchup. Both these teams have been up and down here and there. I really want to see, Dallas. I know that they're 2-0 at this point. The Browns seem to be kind of on a little bit of an upswing after beating Washington last week. So I want to see if the Browns have kind of figured this out a little bit, or if they are just going to be totally demolished this week.
You do this every year where you're just like, I think the Browns can do it.
I didn't know.
The Browns can win some games. Man, they're so bad.
You said that about Cincinnati. I will never let you live Cincinnati down. Cincinnati is way worse than me talking about the Browns. Way worse.
The Browns, man. They're so bad. And they shouldn't be, but they are. Like they've got every weapon. Man. Like I'm never like the Browns can go to the Super Bowl, and I'm still gonna be like, nah, they're still the Browns. Like they're the Browns, man. They're always gonna be the Browns. They're not gonna. I don't even see them winning 8 games this year. Like, and I don't see them winning 8 games next year. It's the Browns, dude. The Cowboys are gonna run over them, and that's gonna be it.
Sorry, I got it wrong. It's 1-2. I'm trying to remember who did. It's so the Cowboys are 1-2, and the Browns are 2-1. So
the Cowboys about to be 2-2. I'm skipping Bayless right now. Cowboys. Dak is gonna throw it all over him. Zeke is gonna run all over him. Amari Cooper's gonna just hit it. Like if you've got them on your fantasy squad, start them. Because the Browns are not gonna put This is gonna be over by the third quarter.
I don't know, man. I'm interested in seeing it. I'm interested to see it, man.
Nah.
What do you think about your Patriots and Chiefs game, this matchup this week?
I think the Chiefs are gonna win it. I think, man, like Cam kind of he kind of set me the wrong way. Because I think he could if he signed a 1-year contract and he's been playing good. Like you look at his numbers, he's been playing good. But they asked him like, why haven't you moved your family here? And he said, this is just a business trip. All right. Like so Cam doesn't like. I mean, does he see a future for himself there? It's like just kind of a 1-year deal. I'm gonna put my numbers up and I'm gonna go where I want to go. Like this is the only team that was looking to sign you, dude. you went the whole off season until like a couple weeks before the regular season. Nobody was like knocking on your door. So what do you mean a business trip? But I mean the Patriots
he's going to be able to
good.
pick. I mean, the way his play is up to this point, he's going to be able to pick where he wants to go
if he stays healthy.
Yeah.
I mean. But I think the Chiefs are going to win. This is our first home game in 2 weeks. We actually have fans in the stands, so there's a little bit of that advantage going for us. And I think the Chiefs are too hot right now. I think it'll be a close game. It won't be what we saw on Monday night. Because Cam will definitely if you. I saw some mistakes from the Chiefs that if there was a better quarterback on the other side of the ball, Lamar's not a good quarterback. But if there was a better passer on the other side, the Chiefs made some mistakes that would have definitely been six for the other team. So Cam will see that. This is a former MVP, man. This is someone that he took his team to the Super Bowl. He's proven that he can get there. And this is Bill Belichick. I don't care who you have. Bill Belichick will win with him. And he's proven that right now. It's a good game. The game that I'm actually really looking forward to is going to be the Bills and Raiders. Both are playing. I would say exceptionally well. Raiders have surprised a lot of people with their 2-1 record. But the Bills, man, 3-0. And Josh Allen's playing out of his mind.
Yeah.
10 touchdowns, one interception, 1,038 yards. He's playing out of his mind right now. And their running game is really good as well.
I would say this is more telling of where the Raiders are at, but I think the Bills are. Yeah. I mean, the Bills are there. I mean, talent-wise, the way they've been playing defense, especially like you said with Josh Allen, like coming on fire here lately. I know that defense had a rough one last week, but still edge out the win with Allen's performance. But I agree with you. I think like I said, I think this is a bigger game for the Raiders to kind of see where they are at. But I do like the matchup. But yeah, Josh Allen up there with Russell Wilson. I think you're talking, and I think Patrick, based on his Ravens, is now, up there a little bit too. Those are probably your 3 MVPs at this point, based on the way Josh Allen has been playing.
I would agree.
Yeah. So those, and today we got Broncos and Jets. Both are 0-3. So one of the teams will have a win after this week. I kind of leaning a little bit more towards the Broncos, but man, unless they both just tie. Yeah, unless you get, I mean that could be. I mean with these two teams, it's rough for both of them. I'd say maybe, organizationally wise, it's probably a little bit more rough for the Jets because the Broncos have been playing teams pretty tough here. I mean, besides besides the Buccaneers. They've been playing pretty tough against teams, so that's why I like them with this matchup tonight. So, any other thoughts, Jamie?
Another game that I would keep your eye on is Auburn versus Georgia. I really like that matchup. I think that would be a good game if you're looking for a game
of the week for college football.
So if you're looking for something to do Saturday night, I would definitely sit down and pop some popcorn and watch that one. But that's all I got.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be. We'll see where the defense is at because Auburn, both team. What's funny is both teams struggled. I kind of favor Auburn a little bit more in this matchup because Georgia, until the third quarter, really struggled against Arkansas. And so I'm kind of, as much as I hate to say it, I'm leaning a little bit more Auburn to win that game because of their experience at the quarterback position with Bo Nix. But yes, I'm glad you mentioned that before we ended. But I hate talking about Auburn and saying that I think they may win. So maybe that's why I want to get around that topic. But yeah, so you got some really good SEC games this week.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. yeah, we'll see what the Heat are able to do. That'll be interesting to me how Game 2 will pan out. Anyways, we will bring our reactions once again to what's upcoming. We'll have a lot to talk about next week as sports are back. Like all of them are back, you know. So, hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. We will see you next week.